Hello everybody, my name is Rodolfo Roman and this is the introduction video about what is HTML, what is CSS, what is JavaScript, and pretty much what is the difference between a web application and a website and why they are not actually the same. We're going to start talking about a little bit about all those technologies and how they work together. It's really important to remark that in this course we are going to take the word advanced web design, the part advanced in particular, very serious, and we're going to be moving a little faster pace than probably other courses. But it is important to get those fundamentals and understand what we are doing or where we are heading in order to work. So, websites. A website is a bunch of pages interconnected between them that actually help us to fulfill, give you some kind of information. The website could be for information, the website could be for entertainment, the website could be for learning purposes, and it's actually the base, how internet is created. And all those websites have pretty much the same base language to express, and that is HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext means actually those little links that you see in your web pages that actually when you click it you go to another place. That is actually hypertext, and make the connection between one site to another. And we can see actually that is a markup language. That's something really important. HTML, the base of all the web pages that we pretty much used to see, is not a programming language. That's really important to understand. It's a markup language. A markup language is a way to represent content to the website or to the page. In order to render an HTML, you will need some kind of browser. There are different kinds of browser, and probably you're more familiar with using Google Chrome or using Firefox, Internet Explorer, Edge, Safari. They're the most common ones. There's a lot of other browsers that you can actually use, like Dolphin, like Brave, Mozart. I believe there's another one called like that. There's a bunch of browsers. Those actually what they do is take those markup language, those HTML pages, and render it for you in order to see it. So a website is actually that. A website is a page for fulfill a content. And let's go to the screen right now, and as you can see, I'm having a blog open. It's the Google Developers blog, and this is pretty much a website. We have several links in there. When we click those, it gives you to another place. It has some extra capabilities like a map, so we can move around, we can zoom in, have a little more interaction, but at the end it's still a website. All these little links actually where hypertext came in, all those links actually hypertext were linked one page to another, and we can actually move around the website. So all this is actually created with HTML, and we can actually see it. Right now I have opened my Firefox, so if we do a right click and we do inspect element, we have an inspector including a bunch of code over here. As you can see, as I pass the mouse over those codes, you will see different parts of the website actually highlighted. Is the code that represent different sections of that website. Let me put this to the side. Let's look to the right, probably better. Okay, so you will see that actually have different sections and different names and different components that are developing there. So that's why I'm saying that HTML is a markup language. This is not any kind of programming language itself. It just shows you how to maintain specific elements, and they are listed pretty much on the page. All the HTML start with the doc type, and from then on we go to the HTML. That's pretty much the root of every website. We have the headers and the body, and pretty much the body where we have all the content. The header where we have the title, we have the title, for example, what is represented here in the tab, the fab icon, Another components that is actually needed for the website. We don't know dig a lot on those, but just to show it pretty much where that information is. And it's where we import external resources. Those external resources are going to be created or used in order to styling or have interactivity in our web pages. That's really important. So let's dig a little bit more. So we have different components. We have body component, a div component. We have this can actually have a navigation component, an article, and different sections, and title, level 3 element, and go on and go on. And we have several sections, several elements, we have some kind of buttons too. So with the inspector, when you click this little button, we can actually select one specific and we'll select the details of what it is. This is a piece, a paragraph. This is an H3, that means that is a title. This is actually an A is a link, that is it have a class of button. It's actually not a button, but it looks like a button, but it's actually a link. And we have different elements. For example, this is a block, it's a div. And we can see and we can specify different areas. And that's why how is HTML website actually created. Now, I would say, what is the difference between a website and a web application? Well, in the past semester, you haven't seen or created different applications for different purposes. Probably already passed to C++, already passed to Python, already passed for C#, and created some console application, created some desktop application, depending on the case of whether you actually took the class. But an application is to fulfill a purpose to help the user, and pretty much the same as a console application or a desktop application. There is website applications, and right here I have actually opened Hatchful. It's a logo creator through Shopify, and it helps you actually to define and do some kind of editing there. So we just get started. Let's say that we can actually create a tech company. We want to be, let's say, innovative. Let's remove this. Learning web development. Welcome to the class. Let's say that's the slogan. And I want it for social media, print and swag probably. So he just created some logos for me. So let me just choose one random one. Let's say this one with a honeybee because it doesn't make sense, but let's just create it. And we see that we have our title, we have a subtitle over here, we have a logo. So we can actually download it, use it, or we can actually start moving around, like for example change the fonts depending on what we want. Start specifying different colors depending on what we need or what we want to do about it. The icon, we can change actually the icon there, and let's do a fish, why not, right? Let's change the colors a little bit more, and the layout, let's do dark, and let's make something that the text pop up a little bit more, something like this for example. So I just working and create an application playing with layouts and icons just as like a common computer application, but instead was to create an image. Go next, I can download the logo and start using it, and give me different examples where you can actually put that specific logo. So this is an application and it gives you a different purpose. It's not entertainment per se, it's not informative per se, but it's actually give a specific functionality, something you're going to use for your computer in order to understand it. And that's what we're going to be doing in this course. In this course, we're going to be learning how to do a web application. I will go through modern frameworks. We're going to move, well, I said at the beginning, we are going to move a little bit faster probably, but in any phase or in any week that we're actually going to be seeing those classes. Don't hesitate to reach me if you have any doubts or any questions, and we'll see pretty much where we need to be done. So let's actually start with HTML, what it is, and how to start understanding. So there's a couple of websites that I want to remark right now. There is the Mozilla Developer Network, and it's pretty much going to be our source of information on everything that we want to do during the basic technologies. We can learn actually HTML, we can learn JavaScript, and we have documentation for CSS. Actually, that is here in the technologies. We click CSS, we'll see there are different tutorials and reference about different styling and what it does. So a website is actually created through a markup language to HTML. The HTML will be, let's say, like the bones of a person. It's going to be like the structure that I need to have. CSS will be the styling of that person, will be pretty much like the flesh, it's going to be the clothes, it's going to be pretty much how that person look, like if he's tall, is a little more small, is thin, is a little bit fat, depending. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing with the styling, with the CSS. And JavaScript is where we're going to do the interaction of that website. It's pretty much the movement that people will have, the person will have. So I like that comparison. HTML will be pretty much the bones of the body. CSS will be pretty much the flesh and the clothes that it's actually wearing. And JavaScript is pretty much any interaction, any movement that that person actually does. Something really important to remember and understand. And let's start actually with HTML. So we have the MDN web document, and we have also the w3school.com. That's a little bit easy to understand the basics for HTML and CSS. I will recommend to go to W3 School for CSS and HTML reference, and go to MDN for reference for JavaScript. It's actually where they are better to understanding. The pretty cool about this is we can actually learn what we have the reference to. If we go to the reference, we can see the different elements and tags. And you say, wait a minute, what is a tag? Well, let's actually jump in and see what it is. It's one of those sections. We are going not to see everything that we are looking at here, but it's important to have as a reference in order to understanding what we want to do, what we want to achieve over here. So let's just click in Learn HTML, and this is going to be the base information that we actually need to have. As I was saying before, it's a standard markup language. Again, it's not a programming language. This is actually an interview question. When they ask you what programming language do you know, and some people actually answer, well, I know how to program in HTML. That's actually not entirely correct, because HTML is not a programming language. You have that in mind. It's a markup language. With HTML you can actually create websites, and it's actually easy to learn. This is a really basic website, and this is actually the code that's going to be needed. As I was saying, let's see part by part. So HTML is based in tags. A tag is actually element that's in between the minor and the greater symbols like this, and that tag needs to be closed with something exactly the same with a forward slash at the beginning. So if we see the structure over here, we will see that we have an HTML closing over here. We have a head closing over here, a body closing over here, and then we have a title that is closed right here, and inside the body we have an h1 that is closing right there, and a paragraph that is closing right there. This is actually the base elements of HTML website. HTML website, we need to specify which type of HTML we are working on. There are several types. It came from HTML1, HTML2, HTML3, 4, XHTML, between others, but more like since 2008 probably, HTML5 came in place and give you like a really new upgrade to the language. So this is actually the way to specify that we're using HTML5, and this standard factor right now is how to do web application and website. So the doc type is pretty much what it does, use the declaration, what type of document or what type of website are we actually building in this content. So let me actually go to next. Questions. This is actually some important facts we need to learn or to know. HTML is hypertext markup language. It's the structures of web page. It's pretty much what we're saying, like the bones of a person. Consider series of elements, and those tells the browser how to display the content. A browser will be Chrome, will be Firefox, will be Edge, will be Safari. Those are going to be the browser, and those are going to interpret that markup language that we have it in HTML, and we will pretty much represent it visually for us to understand it. So we have the same website, basic one. So the doc type is the declaration defines what is the document to be in HTML5, and we're going to be working HTML5 because actually the standard. In order to understand it, in order to create it, all the documents are going to be doing, and they have been doing for the past years, it's actually HTML5. So we are not going to be messing around with all their specifications. Now, every website will need to have always HTML tag. An HTML tag is the root element for every HTML page. So we have the doc type at the beginning, and you can see the doc type doesn't have a close statement. It's just a declaration of what it is. But the actual root is the HTML1. The HTML1 is actually giving us grabbing all the website by itself, and we tell it, okay, it's writing in HTML. It is important that every these elements is called tags, and we have two different types of tags. We have the opening tags, as this one, and the closing tags. That's really important. And the element then start being inside. So this HTML is grabbing all this. The head is grabbing the title, and the body is grabbing this H1 and this paragraph. So those tagging is actually, you can have content and you can have nested elements inside. And here in this website, actually they have a really cool element, as I was saying before. The tags are element names surrounded by angled brackets. So we have the starting tag, the content, and then the ending tag. And that's really important. We're going to learn some of the basics of HTML, but later, next week, we will actually create our own tags or our own elements or components. That's going to be pretty cool. And this is a visual representation of this basic website. We have an H1 as a heading and a paragraph, and that's going to be rendered as this, as a heading. That's a little bit bigger font, and a paragraph a little bit smaller. That's actually how they show. And this is actually the image I want to show you in order to understand those grabbing and how they work. So those grabbing actually work like blocks. Those blocks are going to be surrounded, and you can have nested information in there. So we have the HTML grabbing everything, and then you have two blocks, main blocks inside HTML, are the header and the body. And in the head you have the title of the website. The title is actually the one that is rendered in the tabs, and you have the body, where actually the body is give you pretty much the content of what you want to render. And we need to understand how to actually work like that. When you have an element with content, you need to have a close tag. When you have element without content, because there is some element that doesn't have any content, you can have self-closing tag in there. What is actually a self-closing one? Well, we'll see something like image, for example. Let me jump into HTML image. Image is some element that actually doesn't require to have a closing tag. So something really important to get it or to understand it, where we are, what we are doing. For example, this image with these properties, actually it doesn't have a closing tag, but it's actually rendered to show you a specific image in the website. Well, let's not jump to that now, and let's go to the basic. As I was saying before, the different HTML versions. From HTML5 actually for 2014 is pretty much the facto standard when that was accepted, but from 2008 I believe Firefox was already allowing to have HTML5 to be rendered in the browser. So you will need to have some kind of notepad or some kind of editor in order to work with those. The one that I would like to work actually is Visual Studio. And in Visual Studio, pretty much what we need to do is, Visual Studio products. We are not using the IDE, the full long. We want to use Visual Studio Code. And it's a little more lightweight. It's not a complete IDE, but per se, it's like an editor on steroids. It gives you some pretty cool information and pretty cool way to actually be working, and will help us a lot. So I would recommend everybody to download it. So Windows Mac, and this is going to the one that we are going to be using for this class. So the HTML documents, we know actually what we have. The headings is different type of headings that we can have. It came from 1 to 6, and depending the numbers that we have, it will do different sizing. A pretty cool thing about this website, if we click try it yourself, it gives you like an example, and it gives you like a basic HTML, and we can see the different effects that those going to have there. So we can actually have something like, we saw that the P is like a paragraph. So let me just create a basic paragraph element, something like hello class. I click run. That's going to be rendered as a paragraph. So heading is actually created with the H1 tags through the H6, and it's going to have different sizing and different capabilities depending on the needs that we are going to be using. Now, very important is actually the paragraphs. We already saw those in action, and those paragraphs actually what it does is just a block of text that we're going to be putting there. We have different links. That's another important element. A link is start with an A, and something really important, when we define the tag, we have a specific property or attribute. You can specify different attributes for different elements depending the need that you need it. We saw those attributes in the image before, and right now we are looking at the attributes that the specific link will have. So in this specific link, we're saying that the reference, the HTTP reference or the link attribute is going to be sending the information to this specific website. So they will render with a link, and when you click the link, it's going to send you to the website that we specify. In this case, for example, since W3 School, if we change this to Google and run it, it will pretty much send us to google.com. Well, probably this is actually a little bit protected. It doesn't allow you to send us somewhere else, but the reference is actually what it does. Now, the content of the link is actually the text that we are showing. We're not showing where to send it, we're showing you just this content. That's something really important. So we just specify the behavior of the element or the link of the element to where it needs to be sent when you click it, but with specific text that is going to be shown. If we change this to hello, it's pretty much going to be rendered in the website. Okay. Let me start closing those. Image that we thought we have different attributes. We have the source attribute where we define the direction of the address or the image that needs to be rendered, and we can actually specify the sizing if we want to. So to have more attributes in there. When the image is not found, because sometimes emails get lost for any reason, let's say that you delete it from the server or something like that, we specify the alt attribute. That is pretty much a text that's going to be showing if the image is not rendered correctly. So use different elements. We have the button. It's pretty much what you've seen. It's a simple button to do a specific task. We have lists. We have two different kinds of lists. Unordered list and ordered list. Unordered list is just simple bullets. So we have unordered list and then the list element, or ordered list and list element. And ordered list pretty much is giving us numbers. So unordered list is just bullets. Ordered list is for follow numbers. If we saw that, we can see it over here. Unordered list is just bullets, and ordered list OL is rendered this way. Pretty much. And this is pretty much the basic elements that we're going to be using, and we're going to learn a little bit about attributes, what to do on those, how it actually works. So we need to remember that we need to start a tag and then end the tag on how. And we can have nested elements that we described before. For example, the H1 and the paragraph are inside the body. So we see the body starts here, the body ends over here. So those elements are inside, so we can have nested side. And how nested can we go? Depending the needs of the application or the website that we're doing. There's actually no limit on those. And what do we need to do? So attributes are actually the elements that we saw before. Heading, we just saw the paragraph. What is there? There's a styling attributes. All the HTML tags have some kind of styling. We can specify different colors, different sizing, and this to the style. And we do the property name and the value name. Those properties actually come from CSS, and it's important to understand a little bit about CSS in order to know what to do with those. For example, there's a CSS property called background color, and the background color we just specify a specific color or a hexadecimal of those colors in order to render with the information we need. So we just change this to red. It's still blue, or if we change it to an hexadecimal, let's say F8, it's actually too white. Let's do 33, a little black, 5. A little clear. So you can actually play around and do different let's say different numbers in there, and we can specify a different color. How are you going to know what colors to use? Well, you can look for those on Google. X color picker, and we can have like a different sizing of colors, and they give you the specific one that we need. Let's say that we want like a yellow one, a little bright one. Let's say that we like that one. Take this code and we put it over here, and it's rendered like that. So this is a way to actually find out different colors and different elements. That's actually for the styling. And they're different. The background color, we have the color for the text by itself, the font family to change the font, and the alignment to be text center, text right, text justify, stuff like that. There is some kind of quotes if you want to actually use those comment colors. CSS, it helps us to do crazy stuff like this. There's a bunch more that we actually see. I recommend to everybody go through this, see them, read it, understand a little bit. We need a lot of reading in this understanding what to do. But now let's actually see an example of how to do a specific website. So I have my Visual Studio Code already downloaded and installed. So I will just recommend to everybody just go grab it from the website, install it on your computer, and then just execute it. The main structure of this Visual Studio Code is actually like this. We can actually open a file, create a new file, do the stuff that we actually needed to do. So in this case, what I want to do, we can search, we can do some source control, something that we're going to do or see during the semester, and do some kind of debugging, install some extensions, and go on. So the first thing that we'll actually require to everybody to do, sorry for that, is going to the extension section in this one and look for live server. I already have installed it, but you will select install property, just click it, and let's have it like that. Probably will require you to restart. Is actually required to reload or restart your code editor, doesn't matter. And what it does is actually to have this. So we can actually do some changing in the code on the website, and it's going to be rendered automatically, and we're going to be making live movement or changes to that. That's why we want to be required. So let's go back to the Explorer. Let's open a specific folder. So I have a bunch of projects over here. I have a project folder, so let me go to my CATP and let's create. I already have my week one because I already did this in order to understand a little bit what we want to show you. But let's actually create a new folder, and let's put it like week one, like that, with separation. Over there, we just open that folder. It's going to be render. That's going to be fine. And we just create a new element. So we create a new element with this button over here, and we call that element index.html. Enter. And we have the HTML already created. It's an empty one. Let's do a right click, open with live server. And in my case, it's going to be actually, let me look for this. Here we go. Let me remove this from here. Let me do right, and actually let me send that to here. Sorry for this. So let me put this on the right, left, and this one to the right. Okay, I'm doing this just to show purposes. So this is actually the page that my live server, when we use the right click open live server, open for me. It's pointing to my computer. You just create a specific port. We can see the port down here, and it's rendered my HTML page. So in this HTML page, we're going to start working or doing what we need. Pretty cool thing about Visual Studio Code is to give you the basic elements. So if we do HTML5, we give you the image abbreviation, we click it. It will create the basic of HTML website for us. If we save it, we will see right away that it's not doing what it's supposed to do. Sorry. There you go. The name changed because we specify over here. Let's change this to week one web app, and it's week one web app, and we see that it's actually reflected. So something that also really important in order to understand a little bit is about the indentation. The indentation will help us to get a better understanding or better getting how the website is going to be looked at and how to be rendered. So I like to have that indentation, so it's for me easier to see that these tags are inside my header and my body is actually empty. If I do H1, and let's actually remember always open and close it, and let's do hello class and save it, we have my header over there. We have a header level 2, hello class, again, we have a different header that actually we show it in our website. So what we're going to do over here, we're going to do a simple to do application, and we are going to actually structure our to do. What is a to do? A to do application is very much a way to list the different tasks that we actually need to accomplish, and we need to have some kind of order, or those tasks are going to be a pending status or completed status. And let's actually be working a little bit how to handle those. So let's say, for example, we have a simple to do. Let's remove this and let's create H1. Remember, open and close tag, and let's say my to do application. Right? In that to do, what we are going to need, let me open a new one. Let's go to W to the schools. Let's go to reference, HTML style reference, and what I want to have is a way to input my to-dos. So if we look for input, we'll see that we have the input control, the input tag, and this is actually how it works. Okay, as we can see, the input tag doesn't have a clause, so that's going to be perfect. Let me actually, we need to specify the tag. We can specify the name or not. In this case, I don't think they need to have to specify the name. So let's actually copy this. Let's save it. We have a text field. Perfect. After that text field, what we need a button in order to add. So let's go back. Let me look for button. There you go. This one have actually a closing tag. Let me copy all this and paste it. Click me. Perfect. Let me just zoom in a little bit. So let's change the text limit to add, because pretty much what we're going to do is whatever we put here is going to be added in our list. Okay. So now we will have like another header. Let's do an H2, for example. Actually, let's do an H3. Remember, open and close it, and we say pending to-dos. Pending to-dos, we have there, perfect. And we will need to have like another one that will say, let's say, completed. So we have two different lists. Okay, we remember that for a list, no, UL, yes, let's use a unordered list. Let's just copy all this, but after this, perfect, and perfect. So let's say, explain HTML, create video. Let's actually delete this one. And completed task, let's say, syllabus, for example. So let's say that I have that. So now as you can see different markup, different elements in order to be created and do whatever we need to have those, right? This is actually how HTML is structured. Now it's probably too basic, but I like to do. I love those. Let's go back here. Let's look for a div, and let me explain that. A section defines a different section in the document. So a div, what it does is like grab different elements on the document, and I like to do that. So let's put a div over here, and I will put my, inside my div I will put my title, and then I will create another div, and in that div I will put my form, let's say my input and my button, and then I will create a div for all these, and then a different div for different sections. So I will have like a div, we'll move all this to there, then I have another div just for the pending, and there's another div for my completed. So what I'm doing is just creating different divs and I'm wrapping the same base applications I already have in different divs. So I can have different sections, I can address several elements. As you can see, when I save it, nothing changed because it's just wrapping elements that we needed. Perfect. Let's start then adding the functionality. What I want to do in this application is, whenever I click in one of those, I want to send it to the completed, but whenever I click one of the completed, I want to send it back to pending. That means that I missed something. And whenever I add something here, I click add, what I'm going to be doing is pretty much adding that element to my pending to-dos. That's what I want to do. And let's do that. Actually, just before we do the look and feel of what we needed to do, I want to show that functionality. And that's actually where JavaScript came in. So I will YouTube survey of programming with me. We already explored a little bit of JavaScript. If now it's really basic to understand it, we are going to go that deep to that. So I will recommend going to the MDN JavaScript section or reference guides, and just to learn different elements about JavaScript. Let's say, for example, the string. Or we can actually do like a JavaScript string, and developer Mozilla is pretty much always be like the first ones, and will explain us different aspects, what it does and how it actually works. Okay, so let's go back to our application and let's start referring the JavaScript that we want. So JavaScript files is actually, let's actually create one, and let's put main. Yes, so main JavaScript is going to be here, and we will specify all the logic, all the movement of the application to be actually generated over here. So let's say, but in order to use the main JavaScript, we actually need to somehow define it or call it in our HTML. So pretty much JavaScript is recommended to have it at the end. So we specify the script tag, and let me actually look for that. So script tag, there is a two-way. There is to define JavaScript directly in the website, or when you specify the source attribute, it doesn't show it over here. If it's a URL of external script. So this is pretty much what we're going to be using the script for JavaScript and the source for specifying like an external file. So the external file is actually landed in the external file is actually landed together with my index, so we just need to specify my sourcing. I'm going to do main.js, and my live server is going to do everything. In order to see if everything is working, let's actually just put console.log hello from JavaScript. If we inspect the element, let me actually send it to the bottom, and we clear the console, you will see that it's rendered fine. So whenever it's rendered, we are referring to the main JavaScript, and the JavaScript is actually sending a simple hello there. Perfect. This is a way to send something to the console, and we can see it right here. And this is just for developer purposes. What we actually need to do is to handle the interactivity over here. So there are actually different sections that we need to handle. We need to be able to add something, clicking the button. We should be able to add something to the pending to do, and we need to be able, whenever we click from pending, send to completed, and when we click to completed, send it back to pending. Pretty much. So let's actually query those elements, and let's create some constants in there. Let's say, let's go back to our HTML first, and let's specify some different attributes. So there is a different attributes that we can specify, and one of those attributes that is going to be referenced a lot is the ID attribute. The ID attribute, what it does is like to give a specific name per se to a specific element, something that we can reference later and use it whenever we need it. So let's put like, this is going to be called new to do, and this is our input. So input is going to be a new to do. Perfect. And our button is going to be new to do button. Let's say the new to do text and new to do button. Let's say like that, and have a different IDs. Having those IDs over here, we can actually reference that in JavaScript, and we can say like const new to do text, or new to do equal get, we specify our document, get element by ID is a property of document. Document is pretty much the HTML document that we are rendering. So we say, okay, render my document, get me an element by the ID, and I will give you actually the ID. I like to use single quotes, and the ID is going to be new to do text. So JavaScript is saying, okay, new to do is going to be pretty much my element who have the new to do text. That's pretty much this. Perfect. Then we just go enter. The add button is going to be new to do button. We call it like that. Yes, let's copy this one, paste it just to make sure. So we have the new to do text, and we have the add button. Perfect. So we need to now add an event listener. There is a loop that's going to be happening, and event listener is when something specific in the application happens. Let's save, and let me show you what it refers with that. So let's say that my button, I will add an event listener. So I want to start looking for something specific that happened to that button. I will specify what kind of event I can have. So abortion, animate context, blur, cancel, can play, change, click, close. So I want to actually the click event. With the click event, we're going to do something specific. So whenever we click that button, we are supposed to do something, and it requires some kind of listener or fallback. So here we're going to create a function, very important, and that function doesn't need to pass any parameter and will not return any parameter, just to do something specific. And we open the I like to call them mustache bracket. I'm not sure how they call it. Let's say mustache bracket. Let's say console log. Let's say button preset. Good job. I like to congratulate myself. So what I'm saying here, whenever I select my button, and my button I added an event listener. Whenever somebody clicks that button, I want to do a specific function. That specific function, what it's going to do is just print in my developer console that button preset. Good job. So whenever you just click it, we see that actually happened there. If I click it again, we set the increment number. That means we have 2 times the same message. So we keep preset. We set the message get multiplying because it's sending the same message over and over and over. So it's doing whatever it needs to be done. Perfect, right? So now instead of printing this, what I want to print is whatever it have. This text box. So this text box is already referenced over here. So it's called need to do. So if I do a need to do, it will not work because this is actually the whole HTML structure. So I want to actually get the value of my need to do. So we put hello here, and I click my add button. My hello will get printed. I change that to hello again and send it. So my button, whenever we click, it looks for the content of the value of my input text and do something about it. Perfect. But what happens when we have nothing there? Is send an empty string. We don't want to do that. So we need to validate that. So let's actually do an if statement. Let's do if need to do equals nothing. Probably you will remember this conditional operator. So we're pretty much printing that is empty line. When the to do is actually an empty line. Well, let's say when the to do is not empty, what I want to do is print the value. So if we click it, it's not showing anything. If we something, it printed there, but if we remove it and try again, it's not giving the empty string anymore because we are adding that validation. That's pretty cool. So let's add another validation over here. Let's put actually an else. Let's do something in this actually is true, that is empty. There is an element for JavaScript. Let's do JavaScript alert. We can use this one just with a simple alert and send a specific text. So we just do an alert and we send please provide a task to add. Okay, so whenever we put something there, we get printed, but if empty, we click add, an alert will happen. Please provide a task to add. So as you can see, we start adding that functionality or interactivity in the application. we are being a little bit more smart about it, how to do it or not. So let's actually add the element to my pending to-dos. So in order to reference my list, let's actually go back to my index. And this list, let's create like an ID of pending. And this other list, let's have an ID of completed. Just to reference those specific lists. Right? And let's cons pending list equal, let's actually copy this and just put my pending, right? And my completed list is going to be the one that is called completed, right? So those are going to be the IDs that we just specify, and we need to start all of those. So the first thing that I need to do is, whenever I add this one, let's actually, we need to create a specific element. How create an element? Well, that's something like this. Let's call it added to do. Go into new document.create element, and the element they're going to be creating, as you can see, you need to specify the tag. So my to-dos is actually list items, so I need to specify this. So I create an empty document, an empty node, and then let me show you what to do with that. And that one, I will say that my inner HTML, this is the property to actually go between the tags, the primo this element, this section, sorry, is going to be equal to my new to-do value. So we're getting the text, and then we are forming an empty list item, and we put in the content of that specific text. Perfect. After we do that, actually what I need to do is to my pending list, I need to add it. So I will say pending list, append child, like add a children to this element. Remember that my pending list, my UL, my unordered list. So I will add a child. The child actually is a list, and I will send the element that you created. If you remember another language, because I created this variable inside here, it's actually just to the scope of this if, and it cannot be referenced outside this element. Something that we need to be aware of that. Okay. So let me actually delete this person and let me test it. So I save it. We can see that it gets reflected. So if I click add, I put new task, add, my new task is going to be there. Perfect. But we can see that it didn't get clear. So pretty much what I need to do is my to-do is going to change the value to empty string. So let me add a new task, and perfect. Another one, add it, perfect. You just created. Have you seen how we start adding some interactively with 50 lines of code inside a web application? And it's changing in real time without doing any refresh. What is a refresh? This is a refresh. Whenever we click this, it refreshes the page. So whenever we add something, it just automatically added and be there because we are working with client information. And I want to do a pause over here. So everything that we have been doing right now is some HTML configuration, some JavaScript functionality, That JavaScript functionality, what it's doing is giving the capabilities to interact with the website. But we are not having any server involved. We are doing everything on the browser. We are sending information to the browser and we are telling the browser, okay, you guys handle this. You browser, you need to understand this and send you the language that you know, do something about it. And we have that kind of interactivity that is changing in real time without actually needed to be saved. Now, what happens here? Because we are not saving that information actually anywhere, when we refresh the site, we lose that new task because it's not saving to a database and it's not saving pretty much to anywhere that we need it. And it's fine like that. Why this actually keep it there? Well, because we are hard coding those in the original HTML. That is why. So this is actually pretty cool. I will have the main functionality to add a new task. Now I need to complete a specific to do, and I need to fall back if I by mistake completed something that I didn't complete. I need to put it in my pending list, right? So how we do that? Well, we do that exactly the same as we did with the event listener. So in the bottom we add an event listener of click. What I'm going to be doing now is actually an event listener of click for my pending to-dos and my completed to-dos. Okay, so let's do that. So let me get my pending list dot add event listener, and my event listener is going to be click, and comma, my second argument is going to be my function. In this case, I will send the event because I want to check something specific. In my bottom, I also need to send anything. In this case, I need to send some details. So when the click event actually happens, what it does is send some kind of information that we are going to be handled later about that. So let's do it and have the function on there. So we do a simple if statement, and we say if we actually click target local name, and you will say, where did you get all that? Well, don't worry that much. Just for the case of this video, actually for the rest of the semester we are not using that much detail, just to show you how to do something without the help of any library. So let's say if I click a list item, because we need to specify a specific child. So we need to do, okay, the to-do element is going to be event.target. So whenever I actually target inside my list, it's going to be happening, and then that I will grab that element in this to-do, and then what I'm going to do is to complete a list dot append child my to-do. So I'm telling him I'm stripping out the element, and then I send it to another place. If we save that and we just click, let's say for example, click this one, boom, my explain HTML get to my completed. If I do a click and create video, boom, create video, get down. Let me add another one. If I click that one later, boom, it sent it to me. So it's doing what I need to do. So the logic is in the other side, is pretty much just the other way. If I click somewhere in my completed list and that click is actually a list item, what I'm going to do is send it to my pending list. So that way I can click over here, send to pending. If I click over here, I send it back to pendings. Cool. We have some interaction. we have pretty much what we need to do and be working in less than 30 lines of code. So we have a full-blown web application that is actually allow you per session have a different to-dos and actually handle those. What I want to do now is pretty much removing this hard-coded one because we doesn't need those anymore, and just start adding something and playing around with those. And that could be. Well, actually, let me just return those just in case. Because to be sincere, the application looks ugly, right? We need some styling in there. We need something to actually giving the form that it to have. We have the interactivity and it's working fine. Now we need to have the styling. And for those the styling, remember we need to have a CSS class and we need to have a styling sheet. So let's go back and let's actually look in my reference for the style information for a document. So we can specify the style in my header, right? And say different elements is going to be like this or going to be like that. Or you have different attributes, the same as the attributes that have JavaScript. We can actually specify a link. So let's go back, let's look for a link, relation between a document and standard resources. More likely, style sheets. This is the one that we need. So instead of putting that, we put this link, type of style sheet, and we reference specific CSS file. Okay, let's actually do that. And that link, you pretty much go to the header. Remember, in a traditional HTML website, JavaScript is used to go to the bottom, more likely, and CSS go to the header. So just after the title, we specify link, CSS, or any abbreviation that Visual Studio have, will create a code for us. So we'll give you the link, the style, the relationship, and the file. So it's style SSS. Let's keep that knowing. But doesn't exist right now. Let's just create it. Style CSS. Boom. Now you're going to be doing something particular. So that's the same way that we target different elements in JavaScript through IDs. We need to wait to handle those elements through JavaScript, and those elements through JavaScript happen in CSS happen actually in two types: in the element tag or the class name. What is a class? Class is an attribute that you can specify in a specific tag. So let me check if we have class over here or not. HTML attribute. We look for class. Give you like a specific order to do. Right? So a class attribute is part of the global attributes that can be used on any HTML document. And this gives you like a specific, how can I say it, type of element that I want to define. And after I can actually select it. So let's say, for example, I don't like these bullets. I want to have my list. I like to have the list there, but I don't want to have my bullets. So how can I handle that? Well, if I can do like a global area, say, okay, all my ULs, select or specify, we'll say, well, there's a different one. There's one actually called list style type. You change that to none. So in order to have the styling is going to have the element that we're selecting, mustache bracket, and then the property, colon, value, and finish with semicolon at the end. If we do that, now we can see that this actually gets removed. very much. Let me show you something extra. If we inspect the element and we select it like this, we see that UL have some kind of things to the left, right? In this layout, we see that it has some numbers for margin. As you can see, margin will be pretty much the different margin for the element with no big explanation, and the specific padding. And we see that we have a padding there, a padding left of 40. So what I want to do for my UL's element, actually, to have a padding none. If I save it, sorry, it's not none, it's actually a 0. Just remove that and put it where it's supposed to have. Perfect. You can see the functionality is still there. Perfect. So this is actually how to add or send a specific order or an element to select it. Let's actually do something extra. Let's go back to my index.html and let me grab everything in another div. So I have my body tag, right? But it's not common to actually change those. So let's put like a global div just inside my body. Let me format my, sorry. Let me remove this. And let me add the class container. You can see the same. So this class container, it will be referenced. I do something about it in my CSS. And I have something already here. Let me just copy over because it's not understanding everything what we're going to do, but just changing a little bit. And you see that actually something happened. So let me remove it, save it, let me put it without saving it. So we already have to my container. What I'm doing, I'm specifying the height of 100 viewport, view horizontal. I'm saying, okay, my container is not going to be through here, it's going to be the size of the page. We have a background, this color, F0, F0. Will display my elements in a specific matter. And I want those matter to be actually a column. And my content need to be centered and aligned in center. If I do that, I see that my whole application is actually moved in the middle of the app. If let me remove the zoom, you will see a little bit like this. And the functionality is still there. Very cool. It started to look better. This is what we actually wanted. So let's change this color. I don't like it. So let's add it over, say, this one. Let's go with a class of, I don't know, main title. And let me actually copy over something that I already have. Specify and put it over here. And increasing the font, adding some padding there, and changing the colors. If I do that, that's my application. Cool. I like it. I like how it started looking. My app is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Actually, the padding, I don't like it anymore, so let me actually remove that. Yeah, better. But what I don't like anymore now is my font. Let me change that. So a way to change the font is to actually do it to the root. And to do it to root pretty much with the star. And we can specify font family. And we specify different type of fonts whenever what you have in your computer. So let's say we change to Verdana, for example. Of course, my font changes over there. If I change to something else, doesn't allow me. For example, Arial, for example, change my font like that. But let's actually use an external font, and a really good repository for that is Google Fonts. So go to Google Fonts, open this. There are different fonts that we can actually use from here, and there's one in particular that I like. It's Varela Round, so you select that one. Yes, that's pretty much what I wanted. Let me select this font and give me a link tag, right? And give me a specific CSS. So with this link tag, what actually I can do is I can put in my HTML. So we already specify a CSS file that is locally in my computer, but you can specify a file that is actually outside your computer, that is actually another server, as this way is actually in Google server. So let me specify that over here. Let me save it. It's not doing anything because it's required that my font family should be like this. So let me copy this line and go into my style and change my font family. And perfect. I like that much better. So what else we can do? I would like to actually, when I put my mouse over here, it gives me some kind of indication that I can click on that. So, and that's actually a general one, so I will see that on this element I need to change my cursor to pointer. So whenever you can see the mouse, whenever I put it over there, using the element, it gives me that capability of the clicking. I already had it, but now changing my mouse to something that gives me that kind of understanding what it is and how it works. Perfect. But those listings doesn't look that well. Let me actually change those a little bit. Let me add in some extra stuff in there. Perfect. So I added the white background. I changed the color to teal. Added the margin, some padding. I changed the font and put like it's going to be in the middle, on text center, and looks a lot better. Probably we need to change the sizing of those. So instead of the H3, let's do an actually H2, and let's do the same for the other one. Boom. Perfect. Now it looks a lot better. But these look a little bit smaller. I would like to see them a little bit bigger. So let me actually add this one that I have over here. So this one I'm going to do is my to-do is going to have the half of the size of the screen. And I'm selecting a class. When you select in a class, it's always have the dot at the beginning. So what I want to do is remember that I grab this one. That's pretty much getting bold listed. Well, it's because I'm doing this to-dos. Now my to-do is a little bit bigger and it's doing what it's supposed to do. Perfect. Now what I need to do, actually, you know what, let's change this to, no, I like it like that. Let's change this one, it doesn't look that pretty anymore. So what we can actually do there, let me check. Let's have our form over here. Let's give a class or add. This or add element that have the input on the bottom. And for that one, what we're going to be doing actually is adding some margin. Let's put it at the bottom. So displaying something specific, displaying the center, and just to lay it out a bit together. Let me just remove those. You can see how kind of separation and everything. Well, now it's a little more tight together, right? Have a simple movement on there. And to my input, I will do it a little bit bigger. And to my bottom, I will do something extra. Boom. Well, what I did, well, I just specify this to be a little bit bigger. So I specify whatever my class add a child element that is actually an input, you have a bigger font size and adding a padding top and bottom of 10 pixels and left and right of 20. That way it's not all together. So if I remove this, see like how you start typing, it's pretty much taking the whole sizing and it's tied to the left. Well, with this padding, what it does, give it a little bit of separation, so it looks a little bit better. At the bottom, what I'm doing is removing the border. Let me add it back. You can see it there. So I'm removing the border and increasing the sizing. Change the background to be pretty much the same that we wanted over here. Color, and add some padding to have a little bit bigger. And because I did this justify center and stuff like that, it's actually look almost the same sizing. That's pretty much what I'm looking for. And okay, so let's check. Is it still working? It is. It's doing what it's supposed to. Excellent. But now my application looks a lot better. There is something extra. When I pass the mouse on my button, it doesn't tell me as this one that is actually a button that can be clicked. And I would like to have that, not only that pointer, I would like to change that activation, and that work with some pseudo classes. Pseudo classes are those elements that happen in like in a specific event for that element. So when this is hovered, so we need to do something specific. So when my button is hovered, so this is like the base styling, but when it's hovered, change the colors a little bit. So I save it, and you see that the color change, and my mouse too, because I changed. So on the hover element, do this and do this, but the base styling is actually this one. Okay, now what I will do is something extra. When it's active, that means when I click it, you see it changed to something like interact with me. So it's have that kind of interactivity, and it's a little more user friendly. So now we have a full-blown application looking a lot better, but my completed to do doesn't look like completed, it looks the same. Let's actually change those. And that's going to be really simple. So my listed is called completed. So what we'll say is that my completed list, whatever list item, change the text decoration to line through and the color to red. And actually save those. And it's not doing it. Why? Oh, because it's an ID. I need to have my class. Actually, let's leave it like an ID. So you can actually reference an ID with the pound. Here you go. So whenever something is passed to my completed, it's feeling like that. And whenever it's filled done, and not, it's just removing. So now we have some kind of styling and stuff. Let's do an experiment Let's add a background of color pink. And no, it's just too much. Leave it like that. So now we have an application. It's look better with styling. It's not necessary that you understand all the styling. It's just to give you like a little bit of, how can I say it, grasping what CSS does, grasping what JavaScript does, and how the Markup language actually showing that information. So hopefully that you like it. Let's actually do this video lab, and what I will require for you is actually do your own to-do application. Follow up the code with me, and you should be able to deliver it. What I will actually require extra to do, please change the title name, change some colors in there, so you can actually go to look for X colors, and Google will give you those ones, so you can actually select the colors that you want, and look for a specific font that you like it in the Google fonts and apply it, and make it just a little bit different, but pretty much with the same functionality. Hope that you like it. Any questions, just let me know. Have a good day. Happy coding.